It's September 4th, 2018. I'm fishing Lake of the Woods today. The walleye bite on Lake Winnebago can be a little tough in August and September, so I decided to take a little vacation where the bite is better. And Lake of the Woods always kind of intrigued me. The fish come in fall, the fish will come into the Rainy River in large numbers and feed on shiner minnows that are in the act of spawning. So the number of walleyes in the system, just rivals anything in Canada. So that was my decision for take this week and fish Lake of the Woods. I launched from Zippel Bay State Park. It's a really nice state park in the southern middle part of Lake of the Woods. It's unimproved. A lot of the sites are unimproved, and there's vault toilets and things like that. So there's not a whole lot of amenities there, but it is a really cool little park. Most of the boats launch in the river. Most of the fishing boats launch in the river, and then it's a bit of a hike getting from the river out to the Lake of the Woods. There's some barrier islands, and you have to actually go through Canada a little bit, which I was a little apprehensive about doing it on my own. Didn't know what the rules were and how all that worked. If this is your first time here, I'm an avid fisherman. I live in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I fish the Winnebago chain as much as I can. I'm currently on vacation and fishing in northern Minnesota. I'll be documenting the trips I make here. Hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along. Hit the like button if you like what you see. It helps the channel. And if you have any feedback or questions, please leave them in the comment section. My vacation is the entire month of September. I don't know exactly where I'm going to be fishing yet. Lake of the Woods is the start, and Lake Vermilion is the end. I'm going to Johnny Candle's Walleye School on the 26th in Vermilion Dam Lodge. But I'm not sure what I'm doing in the middle. The Lake of the Woods, as long as it interests me, and then one of the choices is to go to Devil's Lake. It's about 4 hours away from here. Another choice is to go to Leech Lake or Rainy Lake or something like that. If I hear where there's a pretty good bite on, that might be what I do. Otherwise, I may just go down to Lake Vermilion and just kind of pre-fish, and that's a fairly big lake with a lot of structure, and just seems like it's a very good opportunity. On this day, I was mostly scouting and searching for fish, just trying to orient myself to the lake. Lake of the Woods is a lot like Lake Winnebago. It's deeper, but the bite is similar. The fish come out of the river in spring and then hang out in the reefs, and eventually they make their way to the large basin, Lake Winnebago, we call it the mud. And then they stay out there chasing minnows until fall time, and then they start making their way to the river again. The shiners will spawn in the river just like they spawn in the Wolf River, and then the fish have a predictable pattern of kind of hanging out near the mouth of the river and eventually following the shiners into the river when the spawning happens. They're just looking for quick meals, and when they're fishing in the river, in October, they use dead shiners. They rig up dead shiners behind directly under the boat. More kind of like we vertical fish the Wolf River, but there's hardly any current in the Rainy River, so they don't really have to follow the current. They just anchor up and they use a smallish jig. I wasn't quite sure how small. My feeling is an 1/8 ounce, but I'm not positive about that. They use a dead shiner on the 1/8 ounce jig right below the boat, and from what I understand, the action's amazing. They catch a lot of fish that way. Lake of the Woods is just a huge body of water. I'm not quite sure of the actual numbers, but I think it was on the order of 1,600 square miles, where Lake Winnebago is about 250 square miles. So it's a whatever that is, 8 times the size. It's right on the border, so the international border runs right through Lake of the Woods. A little accident in history, when they were initially dividing territory up between France and England, the survey really didn't know where the Mississippi sourced from, so I think the assumption was it was sourced from Lake of the Woods. So the language in whatever treaty that the two countries were dealing with left what is called the Northwest Angle. It's a little landlocked piece of Minnesota that you can't get to except by water or through Canada. And there's a little community on it called Angle Inlet. It's kind of a unique little situation. I didn't spend any time there at all. I was probably about 10 or 15 miles from it, but it's interesting just how these things happen. Common sense would say, well, let's just put this in Canada, but they didn't for whatever reason. I have to count today as a skunk. I was mostly scouting, but I did do some fishing. And considering how productive everybody says the lake is, the skunk is pretty impressive. Because I did fish an hour probably. So this was trip 73 of my effort to be a better fisherman. No countable walleyes today, so the total remains 114. Hit the subscribe button if you want to follow along. And with this information, let's get out and fish.